November could be a turning point for Bitcoin, and there's lots of projects which I think could ride that wave pretty well, and most people haven't even really noticed these projects yet. In a bit, I'll tell you about one of these projects, but before that, it's fair to say that in the last cycle, the market was obvious. Everyone knew we were in a bull run. Bitcoin and Ethereum and altcoins were showing all-time highs all over the place. This cycle, it feels different. It doesn't feel like there's as much hype. I think that hype is still to come, but it doesn't mean that opportunities aren't still there. And so, what's actually changed between last cycle and this one? The last cycle was fueled by loose money, so zero interest rates, and the Fed was pretty much just printing cash. But now the Fed is tightening and everything has slowed down. So projects now might seem fewer and less exciting, but that's good because it actually means quality over quantity. And here's the thing. Historically, Bitcoin peaks at about 12 to 18 months after the halving, and that point is going to happen around November of this year. And so this is where projects like Render can come into their own, not because they're new or all hyped up, but because they're positioned perfectly for that next oncoming wave. So you can think of it like this. So before Chainlink and Polygon and Solana, they all followed the same pattern after the last halving. So Render is in the AI narrative, and AI is one of the really strong narratives in crypto at the moment. It has a market cap in the tens of billions. And what's interesting is that growth in that AI sort of field, it didn't happen overnight, which shows a lot of confidence and stability in it. So I'm going to tell you why I've got my eye on Render and why you should think about getting your eye on it too. And by the way, this video isn't sponsored by Render. I just think it's a good project that you'd like to know about. Pretty much everything about it is solid, from its market cap to its TVL, its expansion, and what it actually does. Originally, it was a 3D rendering network, but the AI boom changed that. So suddenly GPU power, which is basically the brains behind AI, has become extremely valuable. And so companies like Microsoft and Amazon are buying up GPU chips faster than the factories can make them. And even ChatGPT ran out of GPUs, which explains their price hikes. And so when there aren't enough physical GPUs just physically out there to actually use, then you can go to cloud-based solutions, and that's where Render comes in. So instead of building giant data centers like Google, what Render does is it lets anyone rent out their GPU when they're not using it, and they can earn Render tokens. And so if you're thinking, great, I can earn while I sleep, well, yes, you can. Or you can earn when you're picking up the kids, or you're taking a break from gaming, or you're not doing anything on your computer when it's just sitting there doing nothing, then yeah, you can earn. The good thing about it is that it doesn't matter about the scarcity of these GPU chips, because Render just uses everyone else's. Some other strong things about it, which are its market cap and its FDV, which is its fully diluted value, are nearly identical, which is really unusual, and it's a good sign. And most of its tokens are actively used. They're not locked up in farming or staking or anything like that. Plus, it's over 4 years old. It has steady daily volume, and there's no massive unlock events which are coming up, which means there's going to be a dump on the market and the price is going to go down. They've also proven they're serious because of their enterprise level partnerships, which they've managed to get. So you can have a look here on the chart, and the first spike was the blockchain migration to Solana. And then there was rumors of a NVIDIA partnership, and basically NVIDIA is the biggest maker of GPUs on the planet. That turned into a reality in February of 2024, and then the price jumped again. So these guys are serious, and obviously there's a lot of good things about this project. But what about the bad stuff, or the not so good stuff about this project? The first thing that I'm not a huge fan of is Render's governance process, which means if you've got tokens, then you can sort of have a vote in what happens to the protocol depending on how many tokens that you have. And if you were around in the last cycle, then you know that this was a massive selling point for almost every single project. Every project would be saying, like, you know, hold the token and you can have a say in what we do and where we go and all the direction. And a lot of people like that. But the reality of it is that most of the voting happens by all the whales, and the whales are the people that get in usually before the pre-sale, or they're the project owners themselves. Because in most projects, it's the owner that actually holds a lot of tokens compared to a lot of retail investors. And another thing is that while their AI GPU computing is live, it's still very small compared to the giants like Google and AWS. And so if the tech media and that industry doesn't see cloud-based GPU sort of solutions as a viable option, then it could be a big risk. But on the flip side of that, there's also massive potential if GPU processing does catch on, because there just physically aren't enough of the chips to go around. And so this is a really viable option. It's just that sometimes it can take a little while to catch on. But there's certainly a need for it, and render is in a narrative which is super strong at the moment and is only going to get bigger. And so it is worth keeping an eye on to see what happens with their next announcements and how that narrative starts to grow, particularly as that Bitcoin halving timeline is approaching. And so what do you think about render and AI? I'd love to know. Please leave a comment, and until next time, I'll see you in the next vid. Bye.